The CYCI is an organization working to free Christian and Yazidi women and children from Islamic State sexual slavery. It was founded by Steve Maman, a Canadian Jewish businessman being called the Jewish Schindler, and has so far rescued around 130 girls and women from the clutches of the IS. I-24 News correspondent Mael Benoliel traveled to Kurdistan and spent time with a CYCI team, and they continue their controversial mission.
These are the Yazidi leaders of the Sinjar region, located in northeastern Iraqi Kurdistan. All of them are here. That is, most all of them. Nearly 1 year ago to the day, Islamic State jihadists launched an offensive in this very place. They defeated Kurdish forces and captured this mountainous area, the historical birthplace of the Yazidi people.
IS started attacking us on August 3rd, 2014. I didn't want to believe it, and in my mind I never thought about fleeing. I will stay even if it means dying because of it. I will stand side by side with my people and I will keep on fighting.
The lost battle motivated the international community to intervene against IS, which evolved into a US-led coalition that continues to conduct airstrikes against the terror group. But the harm had already been done. Hundreds of Yazidis were massacred and more than 7,000 others were taken prisoner. The men were forced to convert to Islam or face execution. The women forced into sexual slavery. This mother of 2 young children is one of them. For months, she endured abuses by IS jihadists. We met her in the Kabarto refugee camp, only a few kilometers from Mosul in northern Iraq. The 23-year-old woman told us of the ordeal she went through.
I was sold to 3 different men during this time period. I was forced to marry one of them. With the other 2, I was a sex slave. As they were raping me, they would beat up my children. After that, I got sick, so they decided to sell me back to my family.
This is how her nightmare ended. Her family received the necessary money from an organization that works to free Christian and Yazidi women and children held hostage by the IS in Iraq. The CYCI was founded by Steve Maman, a Canadian originally from Morocco. He's already being called the Jewish Schindler. Svian is part of the CYCI team, joining only a few days ago. A Kurdish Yazidi, he was there when the young woman and her 2 children were freed.
We don't give the money if we are not see the family, if the family be relaxed. We go with the family in the different border, like Turkish border, Syria border. Sometimes we go to be near to the Mosul with them family, because by the condition for the CYCI, we can't give the money if we are not with them, because we need to be sure. Of course, they kidnap it. We are take 1 minute, about 2 minutes, like a video on the same picture. That is be like a document. Steve, that is kidnapped.
My daughter back.
The CYCI says it has saved 130 people. A number that has been questioned by some who consider the organization illegitimate, arguing it unintentionally finances terrorism. But that likely does not matter to all these ransomed women and children. For them, freedom is priceless.
Yes, and earlier this evening we spoke to Steve Maman, the man behind this controversial effort to pay for the release of children from IS. Let's see what he had to say. And with us from Montreal is Steve Maman, founder of the Liberation of Christian and Yazidi Children of Iraq, or the CYCI. Good evening. Thank you for joining me, Mr. Maman.
Yes, good evening, Lucy. How are you today?
All good. Mr. Maman, just try to explain to me from where came this idea of saving these people and why?
The idea where? I mean, you're asking from Israel. It should be easy to understand. We are a people that actually survived the Holocaust. We were, there's a very special occurrence in that Holocaust where Oskar Schindler, my hero, basically, I mean, he's one of the righteous of humankind. I mean, he's had the Yad Vashem. I mean, you could only be in admiration in front of somebody like that. He's an example to the world, to all religions, to the point where we can learn through him that there's no race, no borders, and no religion. And I learned from a man like that.
You know, I'm trying to think, from where did you start? What was your starting point with creating this liberation of Christian and Yazidi children?
The starting point was that I befriended somebody in Iraq. We became very close. He was a very, very important person as far as security, prevention of terrorism, and hostage negotiation. He was Christian Assyrian. His name is Dawood. We became extremely, extremely close. And I actually realized that through him, I could make a difference helping people because he had the requirements in order to be able to make a difference on the ground as far as contacts in the government, the Iraqi government and the Kurdistan government, contacts all the way to the president's office, to the prime minister's office, to the intelligence department, so to numerous ministers. I actually used all of his credentials there and my friendship with him and my business, I guess, sense to actually tell them we should act, and I'll get the funding and you get the team on the ground. And that's how it worked. It worked out perfectly. Steve,
you weren't afraid in one point. You know, we're talking about really evil people. We're talking about people that, you know, might find you and say, who is he to come and intervene and save these people that we are trying to make them escape or we are trying to hurt? You weren't afraid in one of the, like, in the process?
Not at all. I will tell you something. There's a famous phrase in Hebrew that says, even if you go to the dark, you know, the depth of the darkness, don't be scared because he is with you. I will tell you that I go by this. This is what my life goes by. If you have the belief, if you have the trust in God that what you're doing is for the glory of God, it's a mitzvah, it's a good action. If you believe in what the Lubavitcher Rebbe says, you can fix this world through acts of goodness and of kindness. Then at some point, I think that if you are assisted from above. It gives you a strength to act. You are presented with people in this world that actually give you examples of what you could follow. The question is, at the end of the day, do you want to be a spectator or do you want to act? So far, I think I've shown the world that I will act. That's it.
Steve, so what is your answer to people who are saying that you are financing terror?
Okay. First of all, the world, you know, puts fuel into their car that come from the Middle East. If fuel is not giving money back to terrorists through those countries that fund terrorism, then putting fuel becomes as worse than what I'm doing, actually. But let's talk about me now. Forget about what the people are doing. I myself do not deal with ISIS, do not fund ISIS, do not contact ISIS. They do not contact me. Our people on the ground, our CYCI team on the ground has incredible contacts on the inside of the caliphate. They're moderate Muslims, and these people are actually negotiating the release of these innocents. There is no payments to ISIS. There is no negotiations with the ISIS entity. This is pure hearsay. It's pure invention. It was invented by the Vice News report, which has no credentials at all.
Okay, just one more question before we are finishing. Did you think that one day you will be called the Schindler Jew?
No, I think the first or second report that came out, I think the journalist tried to get his article to take off. Let alone he didn't imagine that it would create an 800,000 Google score in 3 weeks. I never allowed it. By the time I found out about it, it was too late to retract. It had already been shared by 10 or 15,000 other, elements on Google. It was too late. I couldn't stop it. But definitely, I have nothing to do with Schindler. He's on another planet. I mean, Schindler was working underneath the nose of the Nazis. He was working literally in the town of the Nazis. I'm working in Canada with air conditioning in my office. How could people compare me to Oscar Schindler? I mean, it is not. We are not on the same level at all.
Steve Maman, thank you very, very much for this interview, and thank you for what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Lucy. Thank you.
After we thanked Maman, there has been a lot of controversy over what Maman is doing. With the accusation, he has no evidence of his rescues. Maman has said he's working with Canon Andrew White. White's group released this statement on Tuesday. Steve Maman is a personal contact of Canon Andrew White, who has expressed support for the aims and objectives of CYCI. However, FRRME does not collaborate with CYCI either financially or in terms of practical assistance. To date, no material support has been given to CYCI by FRRME, nor is there any intention to provide material support in the future. And with me right now, somebody who was there, correspondent Mael Benoliel. Good evening. Thank you very much for coming.
Good evening, Lucy.
So, first of all, you know, we've been talking a lot about Iraq. We've been talking a lot how dangerous the situation is, how easy it is to get into Iraq these days.
Well, Lucy, as you probably know, there is no direct line from Tel Aviv to Republic of Iraq and Erbil in particular. But as journalists, we found our way. And so the only thing that I can tell you, it took us only a few hours to get there. Okay? So, yeah, of course, it was my first time. It was not simple to be in this completely different world, you know, as a Jewish, Israeli, French reporter that I am. But yeah, I did feel good, okay, and safe, mostly.
How did you feel safe? Because what we are seeing on the screens is a lot of chaos, a lot of mess. People are being massacred on the streets, and this is what we are putting out there. But you're saying that the situation is completely different in some places.
In some places, no, but we had some scary moments, okay? Yeah, that's for sure. But when you are like, let's say, in a place like Erbil, which is a big city, or Duhok, which is also a big city, you can feel pretty safe. Of course, you won't trust anybody, you won't follow anybody that you don't know, that's for sure. But when you, let's say, going to the front lines, okay, and getting closer to the front lines, so yeah, you are like in a absolutely chaos world. You can see like it's a war zone.
It's a war zone, like if we are going here in wartime to the border and we can actually see the fights. I want to ask you specifically about the controversy that Maman is providing in the last few days or in the last few months. You saw it up close. You saw the people and you spoke with the people that he saved. How real is that, and how, let's say, authentic is it?
As we can tell in this in journalism, I was embedded with his team on the ground for 3 days. Okay, so and I spoke with these guys, and I trust this guy. They took care of me. Okay, for all the time that I was there. So and I did speak with this girl just behind you. Okay, and others. That just saying that, yeah, they have been released by his organization, by CYCI, by Steve Maman, the Jewish Schindler. So yeah, and isn't it the most important thing? I mean, to see for the Yazidi people to see their wife and children be released, don't you think?
Which is the most important thing.
Just if I can add something,
yes.
I just would like to thank and to hit my head to Efrat Lerter, which is Israeli Channel 2 reporter that was with me during this trip. She's a really fantastic woman, a really good journalist, and without her it would not have been the same. Definitely not.
Mael Benoliel, it's good to have you back home.
Thank you very much.
You're here, and to see you in the newsroom again, and not in Iraq. Thank you very much for this.